Okay, so good morning, doctors. I am Dr. Edward Nagiat, and I would be reviewing you with regards to the following topics. So, this include your diabetic ketoacidosis, a chapter on fluid and electrolytes, as well as your chapter on cardiogenic shock and heart failure. So, without further ado, let us start. So, for the first question, a medical student asks you about the hormones involved in understanding DKA or your diabetic ketoacidosis. The medical student is correct when saying the following statement except. So, which of the following choices is wrong? No? So, the correct answer here would be based on the following rationalizations. So take note that insulin is the only anabolic hormone. So when we say anabolic hormone, it is the hormone responsible for synthesis of products. So synthesis of carbohydrates, fat, and protein. No? So that is the function of insulin. And its primary counter-regulatory hormone would be the glucagon. So magkabaliktad sila ng effect, no? So going back to the question, so based from that alone, so you could already rule out yung choices A and B, no? And then so what we are left with would be letter C and letter D, no? So kung titingnan mo naman yung letter D, absence of insulin will lead to accumulation of counter-regulatory hormones. So, syempre, tama naman yung statement na yan, no? So, what we are left with would be choice C, no? So, ano ang tamang statement? So, ang ketone bodies ba kine-create sa kidneys? No, they are not. Okay? So, napoproduce sila sa liver. Okay? So, that is why the correct answer here would be choice C. So next, we jump to the question. What category of diabetic ketoacidosis is the patient currently in, as stated? So you are receiving a call at the ER of a 21-year-old male due to diabetic ketoacidosis. So ang blood pressure daw niya is 120/70, pulse rate 85, RR20, temperature 36.8, oxygen saturation is 98%. GCS 13 to 14. Okay, with the CBG of 350. The serum ketones were noted to be elevated. And then kung titingnan mo yung ABG niya, metabolic acidosis. Okay, so titingnan nyo, mababa ang pH. 7.1 siya. And then yung PCO2 is mababa, no? So, pagkaparehas ng direction, yung pH and PCO2, so, metabolic yon. And then, since less than 7.35 yung pH, so, acidotic. So, kaya metabolic acidosis siya. Ngayon, there are certain criteria that you would have to look into to differentiate the categories of your DKA. So, ang tandaan nyo lang dito, para hindi kayo mahirapan mag-memorize, would be yung sa moderate DKA, no? So, tandaan nyo na lang, pH between 7 to 7.24, serum bicarbonate of 10 to 15, tsaka anion gap of more than 12. Okay, so yan yung moderate DKA. Anything that is milder than those values, mild DKA yon. And then, kung ano yung mas pangit dun sa moderate DKA parameters, so severe yon. Para hindi na kayo mahirapan mag-memorize, no? So, just remember the middle values. So, moderate yon. Pag mas pangit, severe. Pag mas maganda, mild. Okay? So, based on this alone, the correct answer would be moderate DKA. Okay, next. So, what are the risk factors for developing euglycemic DKA? So, actually, bonus question na lang to, no? So, I apologize, hindi ko na check masyado tong choices, no? But there are two possible answers with this question, no? So anyway, this is a 40-year-old female who is a known diabetic who is non-insulin requiring and compliant to empagliflozin. So ano ba yung empagliflozin na yan? Yan yung SGLT2 inhibitor, no? So nagkaroon daw siya ng recurrent vomiting, headache at saka abdominal pain. Tapos na-mention din dito sa case na na-depress si patient. Okay? And then nagsiskip siya ng meals. And then nagdi-drink siya ng alcohol from time to time. So I want you to take note of this table from the chapter of DKA, no? So tandaan nyo lang itong tables na to. Ang pinaka-importanting dapat maalala nyo dito would be your SGLT2 inhibitors, no? So sila lang yung anti-diabetic medication na associated with euglycemic DKA. Okay, so SGLT2 inhibitors. Ngayon, take note nyo na lang din yung mga other details such as presentation shortly after receiving insulin, mga type 1 diabetics na bata tapos nagsusuka, yung mga patients na may chronic liver problem, no? Yung mga alcoholic liver. Then yung mga nagsa-starvation, yung hindi kumakain, yung mga depressed, mga buntis. So yan. Take note of those, okay? So there are two possible answers. Next, so what would be the most appropriate next step in a patient na 35-year-old male na DKA daw siya? Tapos, nagbigay daw ng 2 liters of IVF. Tapos, later on, na-note na ang potassium is 2.8. So, anong next mo gagawin? Okay, so by just looking at this alone, makakapag-eliminate ka na ng answers dito. Kasi, gusto mo, bago ka magbigay ng insulin, dapat okay ang yung potassium. So, magbibigay ka ba ng Apidra? Magbibigay ka ba ng insulin, bolus? Pag ang potassium mo is 2.8, syempre hindi. So, you would push this patient to hypokalemia. That would predispose this patient to cardiac dysrhythmias, no? So, syempre, pagka mababa ang potassium mo at 2.8, so dapat i-correct mo muna. Okay? So, I want you to take note of the following values, no? So, yung numbers na 3.3 to 5.2, yan yung middle ground. Yan yung safe areas para magbigay ng insulin drip and at the same time giving KCL drip, no? So, remember the middle ground values. Yung sa case natin was less than 3.3, di ba? So, mababa na yun. So, hindi ka muna magbibigay ng insulin drip. You have to give KCL drip muna. And then, when you repeat the potassium, at umabot na siya dun sa middle ground na 3.3 to 5.2, then that is the time you start your insulin drip. So, the correct answer would be choice D. So, next, in managing DKA, so, one must consider the following concepts in treatment except. So, alin daw dyan ang mali? So, I want you to take note of the following, no? So, may goals sa treatment ng DKA. So, merong mnemonic dyan, no? So, just remember VPI. So, volume muna, tapos P would be potassium, and then I would be insulin. So, in that particular order. So, VPI, volume, tapos potassium, tapos insulin. So, volume, so magbibigay ka muna ng fluids. Pero you have to make sure na ang pasyente mo clear breath sounds, hindi siya heart failure patient, no? Hindi rin siya dialysis patient, no? You do not want to push this patient to congestion. So, after mo magbigay ng volume, then that is the time you have to know the potassium. Pero in the real setting, lalo na in mga emergency settings talaga, you do not typically wait for the potassium level. You rely on the ECG patterns, and then you look for patterns consistent with hypokalemia or hyperkalemia, no? So that would be the top topic later on, no? So anyway, after mong makita ang potassium, or after you see the typical ECG patterns of hypokalemia or hyperkalemia, then you should decide, mag-i-insulin drip ka na ba? Sasabayan mo ba ng KCL drip? Or ko-correct mo muna yung potassium with KCL drip lang. So, depende yun dun sa potassium level mo. Okay? So, once the serum glucose is 250 milligrams per deciliter, so you add dextrose to the IBF and reduce the insulin rate to 0.02 to 0.05 units per kilo per hour. So, tama yan. Okay? And then, with the potassium of more than 3.3, pwede ka magbigay ng insulin drip. Tsaka pwede ka rin magbigay ng slow correction ng iyong potassium. So, tama din yan. And then, when the blood glucose falls to about 250 milligrams per deciliter, you shift to D5 containing. Okay, so tama yan. No? Sinasabay mo rin yan sa pag-reduce ng insulin rate mo. Okay, so ang maling sagot would be your giving bicarbonate routinely regardless of pH value. So, bakit? So, magbibigay ka lang ng bicarbonate pag ang pH mo is less than 6.9. Okay? So, hindi siya routine. Okay? Just remember, pag ang pH is less than 6.9, then that is the only time you would give bicarbonate. So, this is just to emphasize that you start with the following settings, no, or rates. And then, once you reach the 250 milligrams per deciliter na CBG, then you reduce the rate of your insulin drip. And then, that is the time you change the fluids to D5 containing. So, you just read through this na lang sa textbook. So, the correct answer is letter A. So, next, what is the classification of acute heart failure? So, a 62-year-old male came in due to shortness of breath after having family reunion 1 day ago. So, his symptom was aggravated by walking a few meters. So, according to the wife, the patient was compliant with the medications. Pero marami daw nakain na binagoongan doon sa reunion. And then, nakita na ang BP is 160/100. Heart rate of 115, RR 27, temperature 36.2. Oxygen is 98% at room air. So, which is the best answer? So, dito po lang, you can make a guess. No? So, nakita mo ang BP, 160/100. So, malamang sa malamang, baka ito na yung sagot, hypertensive acute heart failure. Pulmonary edema, toxic looking ba ang pasyente dun sa case? So, mukhang hindi naman. Acute on chronic heart failure, sabi dito sa case, 1 day ago lang daw nangyari. So, malamang hindi rin yan yung sagot. Right heart failure, meron bang nabanggit sa history na meron bipedal edema yung pasyente, naninilaw? No? So, wala naman. So, the most logical question would be letter B, hypertensive acute heart failure. So, this is the table from this chapter of acute heart failure. So, again, ito yung details, no? So, very self-explanatory naman yan. Hypertensive, syempre, di more than 130/80 siya. Pulmonary edema, obvious naman yan. So, toxic yung pasyente, tapos pangit yung x-ray. Okay, and then, acute on chronic. So, hindi lang siya isang araw. So, several days na yan nangyayari yung symptoms. And then, right-sided heart failure. So, yan, may mga hepatomegaly. Okay, you have jugular venous distension, and then pwede ang pasyente manilaw. Okay, and then bipedal edema as well. So, the correct answer is letter B. What would be your initial medication? So, a 62-year-old male, nagkaroon daw ng shortness of breath, and then na-aggravate daw yung symptoms by walking a few meters. So, BP is 160/100 pa rin. Tapos, on auscultation, you note RALs on bibasal lung fields. So, ano ang initial medication for this patient? So, Tintinali specifically mentioned nitrates. For hypertensive acute heart failure, so nitrates ang initial na binibigay, no? So, that is the best answer. So, nitroglycerin, so choice B. After initiating your medication, your patient became hypotensive. What would be your next best step? So, syempre, ititigil mo yung gamot, di ba? Kasi, ang nitrates would cause vasodilation. Pag nag-vasodilate, mag-hypotensive, no? So, in order to prevent further hypotension, so you have to stop the medication. And then, actually, you can give fluids, no? Kahit 250 cc via IV. Okay lang yan. Kasi sa case naman, bibasal RALs lang naman ang na-note, no? So, hindi naman siya yung crackles all over. So, pwede yan kahit 250. Kasi hypotensive naman. So, next. So, if the above patient has an hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy in shock, what would be your drug of choice? So, very specific si Tintinali dito. Hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy, phenylephrine. Okay? So, phenylephrine ang preferred drug sa mga ganitong kaso, no? So, you just read on this, ha? So, other conditions na magbibigay ka ng phenylephrine would include right ventricular infarction, aortic stenosis, o yung mga volume depletion. So, yan. Phenylephrine would be the preferred choice. So, nakabold naman yan sa Tintinali. Next, so NSAIDs must be avoided in heart failure and hypertensive patients due to, so ito straightforward lang to sa Tintinali. So, avoid nyo daw ang NSAIDs in acute heart failure kasi they can cause sodium and water retention and blunt the effects of diuretics and may increase morbidity and mortality. So, direct to the point siya. So, the correct answer is letter B. Next, so what is the most probable type of hyponatremia present in the case? So, there is a 65-year-old female rushed in the emergency room due to abdominal pain. So, stable vital signs, CBG was noted to be 400. And then, ang sodium value is 129 millimoles per liter. So, there are actually basically 3 types, no, of hyponatremia. So, merong hyperosmolar, may isoosmolar, merong hypoosmolar. So, as defined by the milliosmoles per kilo of water, no? So, pag hyperosmolar, more than 295, iso, 275 to 295, and then hypo, less than 275. Ang importanteng tandaan nyo dito, pagka severe hyperglycemia, hyperosmolar siya. Okay, so yun yung sagot sa case natin, no? Hyperosmolar. Yung isoosmolar naman, this is more of hyperproteinemia or hyperlipidemia. Okay, so yan yung keyword dyan. Pagka hyperosmolar, hyperglycemia. Okay, pagka isoosmolar, hyperproteinemia or hyperlipidemia. And then the rest, hypoosmolar. Okay, so yun lang yung mnemonic dyan. Hyperosmolar, hyperglycemia. Isoosmolar, hyperproteinemia or hyperlipidemia. And then the remaining, hypoosmolar. Okay, so the correct answer is letter A. Next, so what is the initial step in management? So meron daw 75-year-old male was rushed to the ER due to seizure. So he is a known case of small cell carcinoma of the lung with a known previous history of low sodium level of 118. Poor health-seeking behavior daw siya. Tachycardic on auscultation, 105. Tachypneic, 24. So, GCS 12. So, what is the initial step for this patient? Nag-seizure daw ngayon. So, very particular tayo dun sa finding na low sodium, no? Pagka ang sodium level is less than 120, prone talaga mag-seizure ang pasyente. So, you have to treat the underlying cause. So, you have to increase the sodium. Okay? So, the best answer here would be yung hypertonic saline na 3%. No? Although, it would be expected na baka sagutin nyo dito levetiracetam or diazepam. Pero kasi, it's not the best answer. Kasi, you would not treat the underlying cause. So, pag nag-wear off na yung diaz mo, pag nag-wear off na yung levetiracetam, wala na. Si-seizure ka ulit. Diba? So, by giving the 3% hypertonic saline, so napataas mo yung sodium level mo. So, pag umangat siya sa above 120, so, hindi na magsi-seizure yung patient mo. Okay? So, Tintinali specifically mentioned the initial treatment with 3% hypertonic saline. Okay? So, and then, take note nyo na lang, in patients with chronic hyponatremia, the correction rate should not generally exceed 6 milliequivalents per day. Okay? So, take note nyo na lang yan. So, this is just another table showing yung 3% hypertonic saline. So, ito na yun, no, yung nasa choice kanina. 100 ml of 3% hypertonic saline over 20 minutes. So, kadalasan naman, isang dose lang yan, okay na eh. And then, you just have to repeat the sodium level, no? So, correct answer is letter A. Next, what complication is expected when sodium correction within 24 hours is more than 12? So, napabilis ang sodium correction mo sa hyponat patient. So, I think you know this very well, osmotic demyelination syndrome. So, very, naman yan, straightforward yan. So, pagka more than 12 milliequivalents per liter per day, ang correction mo ng sodium, so, pwede ka mag-ODS, which is, sad to say, irreversible. Okay, so, tandaan nyo ulit, ang recommended in high-risk patient dapat should not generally exceed 6 milliequivalents per liter per day ang correction ng sodium, as mentioned earlier. Ayan, no? So, yan. Just remember, should not exceed 6 milliequivalents per day. So, the correct answer here would be osmotic demyelination syndrome. Next, so what is the best next step in management? Meron daw 50 years old male na ESRD, na nagpalpitate, nag-DOB, na-miss niya yung dialysis niya. So, dun pa lang, what electrolyte imbalance are you expecting pagka CKD patient? Okay, hindi daw nakapag-dialysis. So, expect mo tataas ang potassium. 'Di ba? So, further details, meron daw nakitang B-lines sa lung fields, may bilateral pleural F, plethoric IVC, may crackles, distended neck veins, typical heart failure. Tapos, yun, additional information, yung ECG daw may flattening of P wave, tsaka with QRS widening. So, ano ibig sabihin nun? Those are actually ECG findings consisted with hyperkalemia. So, di ba, tandaan nyo, na-miss daw niya yung dialysis niya. So, consistent, di ba? Hyperkalemia yan. So, anong next best step? You have to stabilize the membrane. With what? Calcium gluconate. So, this is just to show you the ECG changes theoretically expected when you reach certain potassium values. So, yan. Prolonged PR, tall peak T waves, tsaka shortened QT interval. And then, pwede rin flattening of the P wave, QRS widening, and then QRS complex degradation into sinusoidal pattern. Okay, so familiarize yourselves. And then, ang importante dito would be yung calcium gluconate o yung calcium chloride. They have the fastest onset of action. Okay, they have the fastest onset of action. Kaya yan ang unang binibigay sa patient na may hyperkalemia. Okay, and then, you take note of the mechanism. So, membrane stabilization ng calcium. And then, ang bicarb, yung salbutamol or albuterol, tsaka yung insulin, potassium influx into the cell yan. Okay? And then, you just take note na ang insulin may effect na hypoglycemia. So, in order to counter that, sinasamahan ng glucose. Okay? Kaya, glucose-insulin solution. Then, kung gusto mo magtapon ng potassium sa ihi, furosemide. So, diuretic. Kung gusto mong ipopo ang potassium, sodium polystyrene sulfonate. And then, kung gusto mong tanggalin sa dugo, hemodialysis. So, the correct answer here would be calcium gluconate. Next, what is the best next step? Meron daw 32-year-old female na may history of hyperthyroidism na rush sa ER due to generalized body weakness. Hindi daw maiangat ang paa habang nakahiga. And then ECG, may nakitang prolonged QT, flattened T waves, tsaka U waves. So, ano yung ibig sabihin yan, ng mga findings na yan? Those are consistent with hypokalemia. Mababa ang potassium. So, anong gagawin mo? Di pataasin mo yung potassium, so you give potassium supplements. So, yan. Okay? Want you to focus dun sa ECG pattern mentioned, no? Prolonged QT, flattened T, appearance of U waves. So, hypokalemia. So, you give supplements. So, next, what is the next best step in management? Meron daw 40-year-old male, nagpa-second opinion due to high potassium. 6 daw ang potassium. Pero stable, asymptomatic. Walang sakit, walang ininom na gamot. Nagpakuha lang naman ng dugo, pero apparently, nahirapan makuha ng dugo. So, isipin mo na lang, pagka nahirapan kumuha ng dugo, yung tourniquet, matagal na nasa pasyente. So, anong i-expect mo? Pwedeng magkaroon ng pseudo hyperkalemia. Okay? So, ang treatment dyan is wala. You just reassure the patient and then you just repeat potassium, no? So, tandaan nyo, tourniquet use, lalo na kung prolonged, kung matagal na pag-extract ng dugo, pwede mag-falsely elevate ng potassium level. So, pseudo hyperkalemia. Wala kang gagawin dyan. Next. Which of the following medications exhibit is hypokalemic effect by gastrointestinal excretion of potassium? So, kung gusto mong ipoops ang potassium, you give sodium polystyrene sulfonate. As mentioned doon sa table kanina, di ba? So, yan. I want you to familiarize with that, no? So, siya lang naman yung nag-iisang ganyan yung function. Sodium polystyrene sulfonate o si SPS. GI excretion siya. Okay, so the answer is B. Next, which of the following clinical manifestations is supportive of the consequence of the prescription error? So, meron daw 23 years old na buntis, 37-weeker. Nagkaroon daw ng headache. Tapos, BP niya is 200/120. Tapos, meron daw na note na significant proteinuria. So, nagkaroon din daw ng seizures. So, what is the diagnosis at this point? So, review the eclampsia yan, no? Eclampsia yan. Ano ang drug of choice sa eclampsia? So, magnesium sulfate. I want you to take note of that. Kaya lang, sabi daw, prescription error daw yung pagbigay ng magnesium sulfate. So, na overdose daw. So, ano daw ang expected finding pagka nag-overdose? So, the correct answer would be loss of deep tendon reflexes. No? So, yan. Again, pagka eclampsia, nagsisisure yung pasyente na buntis, na between 20 weeks, age of gestation, and 4 weeks postpartum. So, yan yung kaso sa pasyente. And then, meron din siyang treatment na magnesium sulfate. And then, pagka nasobrahan ka ng magnesium sulfate, so hypermagnesemia ka. These are the expected clinical manifestations. So, the best answer would be loss of deep tendon reflex sa choice, no? So, yung iba naman dyan, wala sa choices eh. Pero you take note, respiratory depression, hypotension, heart block. So, the correct answer is letter A. Next, what is the next best step for the scenario? So, buntis ulit, 38 weeks, nagkaroon ng headache, BP of 200/120, may proteinuria daw, tapos nag-seizure ulit. So, anong diagnosis? Eclampsia. So, nagbigay ka doon ng drug of choice. Ano yung drug of choice? Magnesium sulfate. Tapos, nag-overdose. Prescription error na naman, nag-overdose. So, anong gagawin mo? Anong drugs ang ibibigay mo? So, according to Tintinali, options can include furosemide. You can also give calcium gluconate or calcium chloride. Pwede din naman dialysis. Tatlo yung possible answers. Pero which is the best answer? Magpo-furosemide ka ba sa buntis? Di ba category C yan? So, hindi mo yan pwede ibigay sa buntis. Hemodialysis. Pwede naman, kaso matagal. Hindi siya mabilis. So, nag-toxic na yung pasyente mo, hindi mo pa siya naayos. So, the best answer would be calcium gluconate. Kasi ang onset niyan, mabilis. Okay, so the correct answer is calcium gluconate. So, next. So, which of the following ECG changes is the earliest sign of the expected most significant electrolyte abnormality in this case? So, 50-year-old male na end-stage renal disease. Nakamiss daw ng dialysis. Congested, oh. So, may B-lines, may pleural F, may crackles, distended neck veins. So, ano bang electrolyte abnormality expected mo? Hyperkalemia. So, which of the following ECG changes is consistent with hyperkalemia? So, tricky yan, no? U-waves ba? U-waves, hindi yan yun kasi hypokalemia yan. Mababa potassium yan. Sa pasyente natin, mataas. So, X mo na kagad yan. Tall peak P-waves. P-waves ba ang matangkad? Hindi naman P-waves. Dapat T. T-waves as in tango. Tango waves. Yun yung peak, hindi yung papa waves. So, trick choice siya. Prolonged QT interval. Saan mo ba nakikita ang prolonged QT? Sa hypokalemia, mababang potassium. Prolonged PR. So, yan yung hyperkalemia. Prolonged PR interval. So, yan. I just want you to familiarize yourselves with these ECG changes. So, the correct answer is prolonged PR interval. Next, which of the following statements is correct? No? So, actually, this is another bonus. Bonus to. No? So, there are two possible answers dito. Kasi, hindi lang nalinaw kung ano yung pinapatukoy, kung diabetic ketoacidosis or HHS eh. Pero anyway, I want you to focus on this diagram and just take note. Pagka DKA, so from the word itself, the diabetic ketoacidosis, so acidotic siya, mayroong ketones. So may ketosis, may ketogenesis, so DKA yan. Ngayon, ang HHS naman, hyperosmolar yan, hyperosmolar. So H, hyperglycemic. So H din yan. So yan yung HHS. Hyperosmolar, hyperglycemia. So yan, di ba? Hindi lang na-specify yung kung ano tinutukoy. I apologize for that. Pero what I want you to remember is that pagka more of ketone body formation, so DKA yan. Okay? Medyo particular yan sa DKA. And then, pagka more of hyperglycemic, increase mo concentration, so HHS yan. So next, which of the following factors may differentiate DKA from HHS? So yan, if you're going to look at the choices, merong sagot talaga dyan na magdi-differentiate sa DKA at HHS. So I want you to take note of the following. So, pag DKA, 250 ang cut-off. Pag HHS, 600 pataas. Okay? And then, pagdating sa bicarbonate, syempre, diabetic ketoacidosis. So, acidotic. Ibig sabihin, ng acidotic, konti yung base niya. Konti yung alkaline content niya. So, konti yung bicarbonate. Tapos, yung HHS, baligtad lang. Sino yung mas may ketones? Si diabetic ketoacidosis. Anion gap, mas mataas ang DKA. More than 12. Then, yung pH, mas mababa ang DKA, less than 7.3. Then, anything na baligtad nun, HHS. Okay? So, just take note of that. Correct answer is choice C. So, which of the following choices, no, best corresponds to the osmolality tsaka yung kanyang sodium content? Okay, so actually, if you're going to look through the choices, actually, alam mo na yung sagot dyan, no? Kasi ang sodium is 120. So, hyponatremic yan, no? Pero, pagka, if you want to determine the osmolarity, you have to compute. So, general rule of thumb, you have to compute first for the corrected sodium. Kasi, if you would recall, di ba merong hyperosmolar na type ng hyponatremia na bumababa ang sodium mo pag mataas ang sugar. It is because too much sugar would attract water. So, pupunta yung water doon sa areas with high concentration of sugar. And then, it would dilute the sodium in the process. Kaya nagkakaroon ng dilutional hyponatremia. So, that being said, yung sodium na 120 na yan, falsely low yan. No? Na-dilute lang yan. So, there's a rule of thumb for every 100 milligrams per deciliter of sugar above 100 milligrams per deciliter, magdadagdag ka ng 1.6 sa value ng sodium. So, again, for every 100 milligrams per deciliter na excess of glucose above 100 milligrams per deciliter, magdadagdag ka ng 1.6 sa sodium. So, that is the general rule of thumb. So, yan. And then, just take note of the formula. Effective osmolality, dalawang sodium plus glucose in milligrams per deciliter divided by 18. So, just yun lang yung tandaan mo. Okay. So, the correct answer is choice C, hyponatremic normo-osmolar. So, how would you properly manage this condition? 45-year-old female, generalized body weakness, decreased appetite, tapos tachycardic daw at 102, RR22, febrile 37.8, then saturation rumor is 94. So, yan. GCS 14 daw. So, how would you properly manage this? Ang kanyang pH is 7.43, bicarb of 18, negative for ketones. So, look at the CBG, no? So, how would you give the fluids? So, nasa tintinali naman yan, no? So, take note of the fluids, no? So, 4 to 14 milliliters per kilo per hour. Yan ang rate ng fluids mo. And then, you take look at the insulin infusion, 0.1 to 0.14 units per kilo per hour. And then, yun sa potassium, take note of the middle ground, no? 3.3 to less than 5. So, yan. Magbibigay ka ng potassium to maintain the serum potassium of 4 to 5. Okay? So, the correct answer is letter D. Next, which of the following is false? So, ang mali dito would be choice dog. No? The goal of insulin infusion therapy is to reduce the glucose at a steady rate from 50 to 75 dapat. Okay, masyadong mabilis yan. Ibabagsak mo 100 milligrams per deciliter per hour. Masyadong mabilis yan. So, ibig sabihin, kung ang CBG mo 200, after 1 hour, 100. Masyadong mabilis yun, di ba? So, just take note of the rate would be 50 to 75 milligrams per deciliter per hour. Yun yung tama dun. So, syempre, treatment includes correction of hypovolemia, treating the underlying cause, treating abnormalities, no? Kung ano man sila. Then, as mentioned, VPI, no? Yung order priority VPI, V, volume first, then you check the potassium. So, and then you decide, magki-KCL drip ka lang, then i-repeat mo yung potassium, or sasabayan mo na ng insulin drip, or insulin drip lang. So, yan. Depende yan sa assessment mo sa potassium. Then, paminsan, you don't need to wait for the potassium. You just look at the ECG. Okay? Then, after ng potassium, so VPI, next is insulin. No? So, just make sure na hindi bababa ang potassium mo. Okay? So, yan. Nice to know na lang yan. So, the correct answer here is letter D. So, dapat 50 to 75 yan, ha? Ang rate of decrease per hour. So, tama naman yung fluid resuscitation, 15 to 20 cc per kilo first hour. Tapos, follow niya is 4 to 14 cc per kilo per hour. Standard yan. And then, you correct, syempre, correct mo yung dapat i-correct, no? And then, 1 to 2 grams of magnesium daw ibibigay. So, kailangan mo din yan. No? Stated din yan sa tintinali. So, pag may mga sodium deficits, o kapag may mga magnesium deficits, so yan. Correct mo. So, next, what would be your initial management? 67-year-old female, nagkaroon daw ng chest discomfort, 30 minutes prior. So, pagtingin sa vital signs, hypotensive, 80-60. Okay, so ano ang, tapos ang oxygen mo, tinan mo, DESAT, 90. So, ano ba ang initial management dito? Magpa-fast drip ka ba? Oxygen mo ba muna? Mag-balloon pump counter pulsation ka or mag-nor-epi ka? Siyempre, you go back to basics, primary survey. A, B, C, D, E. So, A muna, airway. Okay, so airway. Bigyan mo muna siya ng oxygen support. Then, pagka okay na yung airway, okay yung breathing, that's the time you give fluids. Next. So, nagkaroon daw ng clear breath sounds, normal x-ray, hypotensive. Anong gagawin mo? So, syempre, you give fluids. So, obvious na yan. Fluids. Fluids muna. The next, upon reassessment, meron ng RALS, may pulmonary edema, bipedal edema, sobrahan na. Ano next mo sa hypotension? So, the correct answer would be, so yan, nandun sa baba, no? You combine dobutamine with nor-epi. Dobu, nor-epi. So, dobu with nor-epi. So, second to the last question. So, look at the ECG dun sa right. So, what do you see? ST segment elevation sa 2-3 AVF. Consistent with inferior wall infarction. Okay? Tapos, kung titingnan mo, merong reciprocal changes. No? Nasaan yung reciprocal changes, no? Na andun sa lateral leads mo, 1 AVL. So, consistent talaga with STEMI yan. So, what would be your next step in managing? Ang BP daw is 90/60, heart rate 55. Tapos, tachypnic, O2 support. Ano next step? Magbibigay ka ba ng nitrates? Hindi. Kasi, inferior infarct yan. Ano bang implication pagka inferior wall? May predisposition hypotension. Okay? So, hindi ka dapat magbibigay ng nitrates. So, what you're left with is morphine. Morphine na sagot. The next, same case, what is the definitive management? So, obvious naman, definitive revascularization by PCI. So, na-mention naman yan dito eh. Ayan o. So, emergent revascularization. Yun yung treatment for STEMI. Okay, so if you have no questions, thank you for listening. But if you have questions, so feel free to message me. So, I'm hoping to, or encouraging to give feedbacks, no, on how we can improve this, no. So, this is just a pasimula, no? So, tinetest natin kung ano yung magandang strategy ngayon. So, ang naisip ko kasi recording muna so that everybody can watch at his or her own free time, no? Kasi ang hirap na sabay-sabay tayo. Yung pagsasabay-sabayin mo na magfe-face to face or alam mo yun, pagsasabay-sabayin mo lahat ng residente. Yung iba from duty, so you do not expect them to really have the attention to listen. So, ang nakikita ko at this point is reading or being responsible your own readings at your own pace. So, ayun, I hope you read the following chapters on your own. So this would serve as a supplement. You can save the questions as your reviewers later on para pagdating ng in-service season, no? So, samplex na lang kayo. Okay? So, thank you for listening. Have a great day.